Hey, what's up folks? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to learn all about the Star Spangled Banner, the most famous national anthem in the world. Now, what do I know about this national anthem other than the fact that, it's America's proud national anthem? Well, I know it was written, or at least the text came from Francis Scott Key, which was an American lawyer during the late 1700s, early 1800s, and his text was inspired by what he saw during the 1812 war, when the British, I think it was the British Navy that attacked Fort McHenry in the United States. And yeah, based on what he saw, he wrote these words, and they eventually formed part of the Star Spangled Banner. Sorry, tongue twister. But the actual specific details are unknown to me, so I'd love to learn a little bit more, and this video has been recommended to me. So I thought this would be great for us to react to together. So without any further delay, let's go. Okay, this should be fun. This should be fun. I get the feeling this might be a little bit emotional as well. These words were inspired by the 1812 war, right?
There was a lawyer once. His name was Francis Scott Key.
Legend.
He penned a song that I'm sure you're aware of. You've seen it. It's in most hymnals throughout our churches. It's called the National Anthem. It is our song as an American. We go, however, to a ball game. We stand in our church services and we sing the words of that song. And
guys, I desperately want to go to a ball game. Everyone tells me that a ball game is so core to American culture, and the first thing I am going to do when I visit the United States is I'm going to go to a ball game, and I cannot wait for it.
They float over our minds and our lips, and we don't even realize what we're singing. Most of us have memorized it as a child, but we've never really thought about what it means. Let me tell you a story. Francis Scott Key was a lawyer in Baltimore. The colonies were engaged in vicious conflict with the mother country, Britain.
Yep.
Because of this conflict and the protractedness of it, they had accumulated prisoners on both sides. The American colonies had prisoners and the British had prisoners.
Why did this war even come about? I mean, didn't America just defeat the British, during the Revolutionary War? So what were the British doing attacking America again? Unfreaking believable.
The American government initiated a move. They went to the British and they said, let us negotiate for the release of these prisoners. They said, we want to send a man out to discuss this with you. They were holding the American prisoners in boats about 1,000 yards offshore. And they said, we want to send a man by the name of Francis Scott Key. He will come out and negotiate to see if we can make a mutual exchange. On the appointed day, in a rowboat, he went out to this boat and he negotiated with the British officials. And they reached a conclusion that men could be exchanged on a one-for-one basis. Francis Scott Key, jubilant with the fact that he'd been successful, went down below in the boats, and what he found was a cargo hold full of humanity, men. And he said, men, I've got news for you tonight. You're free. He said, tonight I have negotiated successfully your return to the colonies. He said, you'll be taken out of this boat, out of this filth, out of your chains. As he went back up on board to arrange for their passage to the shore, the admiral came and he said, we have a slight problem. He said, we will still honor our commitment to release these men, but it'll be merely academic after tonight. It won't matter. And Francis Scott Key said, what do you mean? He said, well, Mr. Key, he said, tonight we have laid an ultimatum upon the colonies. Your people will either capitulate and lay down the colors of that flag that you think so much of, or you see that fort right over there, Fort Henry? He said, we're going to remove it from the face of the earth. He said, how are you going to do that? He said, if you will, scan the horizon of the sea. And as he looked, he could see hundreds of little dots. And he said, that's the entire British war fleet.
Wow.
He said, all of the gunpowder, all of the armament is being called upon to demolish that fort. It will be here within striking distance in a matter of about 2.5 hours. He said, the war is over. These men would be free anyway. He said, you can't shell that fort. He said, that's a large fort. He said, it's full of women and children. He says, it's predominantly not a military fort. He said, don't worry about it. They said, we've left them a way out. And he said, what's that? He said, do you see that flag way up on the rampart? He said, we have told them that if they will lower that flag, the shelling will stop immediately. And we'll know that they've surrendered, and you'll now be under British rule. Francis Scott Key went down below and told the men what was about to happen. And they said, how many ships? He said, hundreds. The ships got closer. Francis Scott Key went back up on top and he said, men, I'll shout down to you what's going on as we watch. As twilight began to fall, and as the haze hung over the ocean as it does at sunset, suddenly the British war fleet unleashed. He says the sound was deafening. There were so many guns that there were no reliefs. He said it was absolutely impossible to talk or hear. He said suddenly the sky, although dark, was suddenly lit. And he says from down below, all he could hear the men, the prisoners, saying was, tell us where the flag is. What have they done with the flag? Is the flag still flying over the rampart? Tell us. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours into the shelling, every time the bomb would explode and it would be close to the flag, they could see the flag in the illuminated red glare of that bomb, and Francis Scott Key would report down to the men below, it's still up.
You know, these Americans, when they were still, British colonists that fought against the British Empire, their homeland, they fought for their freedom. They fought for their home, and they fought to eventually have that United States flag. So they would never give this up so easily. The one thing that you cannot buy is freedom. It's our God-given right. And, these American, I guess you can say pioneers, or the American forefathers, they fought so hard for this. Why would they give this up? So there's no ways that that flag was ever going to be lowered easily, let's be honest.
It's not down. The admiral came and he said, your people are insane. He said, what's the matter with them?
They're Americans, brother.
He said, don't they understand this is an impossible situation? Francis Scott Key said he remembered what George Washington had said. He said the thing that sets the American Christian apart from all other people in the world is he will die on his feet before he'll live on his knees.
On a shield, baby.
The admiral said, we have now instructed all of the guns to focus on the rampart to take that flag down. He said, we don't understand something. Our reconnaissance tells us that that flag has been hit directly again and again and again, and yet it's still flying. We don't understand that. But he said, now we're about to bring every gun for the next 3 hours to bear on that point. Francis Scott Key said the barrage was unmerciful. All that he could hear was the men down below praying. The prayer, God, keep that flag flying where we last saw it. Sunrise came. He said there was a heavy mist hanging over the land, but the rampart was tall enough.
Flag still standing.
There stood the flag, completely nondescript, in shreds. The flagpole itself was at a crazy angle. The flag was still at the top. Francis Scott Key went aboard and immediately went into Fort Henry to see what had happened. And what he'd found had happened was that that flagpole and that flag had suffered repetitious direct hits. And when hit had fallen, but men, fathers, who knew what it meant
They put it back up.
for that flag to be on the ground, although knowing that all of the British guns were trained on it, walked over and held it up humanly until they died. Their bodies were removed and others took their place. Francis Scott Key said what held that flagpole in place at that unusual angle were patriots' bodies. He penned the song, "Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Or the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that the flag was still there."
Unbelievable.
Oh, say, does that Star-Spangled Banner yet fly and wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? The debt was demanded. The price, it was paid.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets break clear, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that Star-Spangled Banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Oh, say, does that Star-Spangled Banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. Unbelievable. I just wanted to let that song play with me not talking over it out of respect for your guys' national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner. What an unbelievable song and what an unbelievable story, that forms part of the inception of that song. Unfreaking believable. As Americans, you should definitely be so proud. If I was American, I would be so proud of my country. That is for absolute certain. So yeah, folks, I truly hope that you enjoyed this video as much as I did. It's even maybe a little bit emotional just watching it, but I'm very happy I found this video. Thank you to those that you recommended it to me. It's really awesome. But yeah, folks, that's all I have for you today. If you did enjoy the video, please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It definitely helps a lot. But until next time, I hope you have an absolute awesome week, and I'll see you when I see you. Cheers.